Hi guys, Freddy here. Welcome back to the desktop for another retro RPG. And this week I would like to present this. Frank Chadwick's Conklin's Atlas of the Worlds and Handy Manual of Useful Information. 1989 sourcebook for Space 1889, which was Game Designers Workshop's 1988 steampunk role-playing game. And Space 1889, if I can avoid tripping over all these dates, is sticking to Game Designers Workshop's naming convention, where they would have a name and then a date. They had Traveller 2300, they had Twilight 2000, and so on and so forth. Now, Space 1889 is a lovely role-playing game. It's set during the Victorian era. It's steampunk, as I said, but it takes a lot of the Victorian theories of the time and makes it as if they're fact. So there is ether between those planets, medium which allows light to transfer, and you can build solar sailors which travel between the planets. And there are dinosaurs on Venus, and there are canals on Mars. But let's have a look at the back cover. Frank Chadwick, Conklin's Atlas of the Worlds and a Handy Manual of Useful Information. Conklin's Atlas provides vital information for player and referee alike to broaden the horizons of adventure throughout the solar system. An informative timeline covers 1879 to 1889, putting political developments, scientific achievements, and important inventions in historical context. Mercury's temperature twilight zone is completely covered, with encounter charts, animal descriptions, rare finds, and rules for travel down the World River. 20 pages of maps and essays on Venus, part of the Veil mystery, covering this fog-shrouded jungle planet. Detailed maps and descriptions of the land of the Moon Men and vast underground rivers and seas at the bottom of Luna's Great Canyon are included. Maps and essays describe the cultures, languages, and treasures of Mars. Where exactly does liftwood grow? Color maps cover the Belgian corporates and the hundreds of miles of meandering bayous and marshes of Croatia on the frontier of the Onotrian Empire. I'm really stumbling over these names. The extensive section on Earth provides needed background on the geography in 1889, as well as the political intrigues and rivalries that spark many adventures. Particular attention is paid to Africa, with maps, essays, encounter tables, stock NPC descriptions, and animal statistics, providing everything needed to run safaris into the interior. Mysteries of Africa, the Lost City of the Romans, King Solomon's Mines, the Elephant Graveyard are also covered. In addition, this module contains a brief rules section on combat between aquatic vessels, as well as rules for the creation of Martian city-states, from population through government, economy, and armed forces, and even down to local corruption. Conklin's is an indispensable guidebook to adventure in Space 1889. Featured inside, the riches of Mars, the swamps of Gorklimsk, the Corporates Valley, Martian city-states, Mercury's World River, Land of the Moon Men, Venusian colonies, Legends of Venus, and the Mysteries of Africa. And it's copyrighted 1989. I really have to be careful when saying that, because I'm tempted to say 1889, because obviously that's the name. And we flick inside. It's not a massive book. How many pages if we flick to the back? We have 80 pages. So it's a decent-sized module, but it's not a heavy guidebook. And inside, we've got the introduction. It explains how maps work, basically. And then we've got ship combat, because obviously part of this book is based on the world river of Mercury. But we'll talk about that in a couple of pages, because we'll come on to Mercury. We've got chronology here, so setting out what happens in each year. So the British fight Zulu War, occupy Khyber Pass, British legation in Kabul massacred. 1888, Ripper murders take place in Whitechapel district of London. And so on and so forth. And then we've got a map of the solar system with ether. Because back in the Victorian era, scientists knew that things had to travel through something. So, like waves have to travel through water. If you touch a piece of water, the waves flow out, and that's how they believed light worked. So they believed there had to be something, a type of atmosphere, between the planets so the light of the sun could reach us. Obviously, now we know that light is not a wave, but they believed it was. So they'd come up with this ether thing. And they believed that you would be able to sail through it. If you could get out of the atmosphere, you could create a solar sailing ship. And Space 1889, being based around steampunk and the beliefs of the Victorian era, believe that ships can sail through it. You get the spaceships which sail through the ether between planets. And we've got details of Mercury here. So Mercury is tidally locked with the sun. So one side of it's constantly facing the sun, the other side's facing away. So in Space 1889, Mercury has the desert on one side of it and a glacier on the other side of it. And the habitable zone lies between. And there's one long river which flows round and round the world. So everywhere in Mercury, all the colonies and things tend to be riverside. Obviously, you can travel some further away into the landscape around, but most of it's based around ships and river transport. And we've got wonderful bits here. So Mercurian rainstorms are both sudden and unpredictable. Every explorer should have a set of sturdy rain gear. Travel down the river. Princess Christiana Station. So the layout of the British colony. The riches of Mercury. Animal descriptions. Flying fish. Squid. And we go past Mercury very quickly, because Mercury's not a huge setting in Space 1889. Mainly, you've got the Victorian steampunk setting of Earth, you've got Venus, and you've got Mars. So on Venus, we've got lizard men. And we've got these maps here, very nice. A nice lizard man wearing a top hat. Doesn't he fit in with Victorian society? Talking about the different tribes. A hex map of Venus, showing various settlements. So we've got Karlstad, Heidelberg, Venusstadt, Eiderberg. And then we're on to the German colonies. We're talking about German colonies, typical lowland plantation settlement. The British colony, average trading post, because Venus is a land of a jungle. The idea is that it's like a greenhouse effect, so there's heavy rain, clouds above all the time, it's constantly raining, and a massive jungle with dinosaurs in it. That's why there's lizard men. So the trading posts will be set up off the ground where it's slightly swampy and to avoid dinosaurs down on the ground. Got Venusstadt, so a large city. German colonies, more detailed maps. The British colony, Collingswood, Sherwoodton. The Italian colony, the Russian colony, more maps of Venus showing some of the dinosaur-like creatures which live there. And then we're on to Earth, which hopefully many of you should recognise. Chart of the world showing principal steamship routes. And this just fills in some background information for it. So we've got steamship travel, how long it takes to travel around the world. Europe. What else we got here? Detailing the countries, so United Kingdom, France, Italy, Germany, Serbia. The railroads of North America, showing how easy it was to travel around North America. Because obviously we're talking about Victorian age here, so it's not modern America, it's a nearer cowboy one. Because Space 1889 is, at its heart, Victorian adventurers. So the British scientist with the American cowboy acting as the hero with him. So if you think back to the old Hammer films, Journey to the Centre of the Earth, the British people would be Peter Cushing, whereas Americans would be the Doug McClure, the more brazen, exciting, heroic characters. So we've got South America, colonialism in Southeast Asia, and Africa, and we detail the African states and what the colonial holdings are. So Britain, Germany, France, Belgium, Africa, the land and terrain, various animals, giving you stats for them. And then we're on to the Coprates Valley of Mars. So the canals of Mars and the Martians who live there. So we detail some areas, talking about these more popular areas where liftwood comes from. Because obviously to get into space you have to fly, and travelling to Mars they discovered a type of tree called liftwood, which you build your wooden spaceships out of, your flying ships, and the wood levitates. The three faces of Mars, so Cydonia and other Xanth, actual areas we know are really part of Mars. The high Martians, because obviously the Martians themselves are winged and they can fly to a certain degree. Canal Martians, hill Martian languages, because the Martian civilizations are falling, because the Victorians believed they could see canals connecting what they thought would be cities, but they couldn't see any other technologies, so they assumed that Martian technologies had, or civilizations had fallen somewhat. And that's the setting of Space 1889. They were once high Martians, they were fancy, technologically quite advanced, but they've fallen a long way from there. They build canals across the world, but those canals now aren't well tended. Generating Martian cities. Rolling dice to generate the population, the economic vitality, garrison troop quality, major political entities of Mars. And then we're on to the moon with a map of the land of the moon men, because the Victorian theories led that because you obviously couldn't see life on the surface of the moon, that it existed within caves and there'd be underground lakes and oceans which the moon men would sail and live in caverns beneath. So we've got the City of Light and Science, City of the Fishermen, Fatherton, Crescent City, the City of Iron, and the seaside. Oh, how nice. Let's all go to the seaside. And the land of the moon men, so it talks through the moon men, the cities, the water cycle, travel on the river of life. And then we've got more ship combat and the City of Light and Science. So that's Conklin's Atlas of the Worlds, a sourcebook for Space 1889, which fleshes out the rough guide that the main rulebook gives, but it gives you lots more information on some different worlds. And Space 1889 is a fabulous role-playing game. Since Games Designers Workshop went out of business, it's passed through probably about half a dozen different companies. I believe that a version's been announced in the last year or so, that it's coming back once again, but the original version is really cool. It uses Games Designers Workshop's rule system, which has its flaws, but it's a nice solid system. And it's connected to all the other, as I said. So we've got Twilight 2000, we've got Traveller 2300, we've got a family of games here, and they were all supported at the time by Challenge magazine, which was one of the best role-playing publications I remember. Anyway, I think I have whittled on for far too long as usual. Thank you very, very much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you like what I'm doing at all, as it does me an absolutely massive favour with the Google algorithm. But most of all, as always, you look after yourselves, and I'll catch you later. Bye now.